Hey there, students. We're going to work on day 7, which is adding, subtracting fractions and mixed number again, but it's actually a little bit different of an activity. You're going to have to kind of use some problem-solving skills and some guess and check, and your knowledge of equivalent fractions to solve the equations here. So for these, you basically have to use these 4 fractions and plug them in here to make the equation true. Now, I did want you to notice down here, the last 2, there's 2 different operation symbols. And remember, according to order of operations, it's add, subtract, left to right. So for this one, adding comes first. So you need to add these 2 first, then subtract to get 5/8. For this one, subtraction comes first. So you're going to need to subtract these 2, then add to get 3/8. So I've kind of come up with my own to kind of model how you could work through this. And then hopefully you can use my example to be successful at these 3 examples. So for me, just to approach these, I kind of just do a guess and check. So for my first box, I'm going to just start with, let me make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to kind of start with 3/8. So if I have 3/8 and I'm going to make it on my easy as possible on myself and not have to convert denominators, so I'm going to put 1/8 here. Because I know they're the same denominator, that should be super easy to add. So I'm going to go ahead and again, since adding is first, I must add these 2 before I can move on to that one. So 3/8 and adding another 8 is going to be 4/8. And then I have to think 4/8 subtract something gives me 6/8. Friends, right here, I know I've done something wrong because no matter what I put here, there's nothing I can take away from 4/8 that'll get me 6/8. Because when I take away, I get smaller. My answer is supposed to be bigger. My answer is supposed to be 6/8, and I only have 4/8. So that's not going to work. So again, I'm kind of guessing and checking and realizing, okay, those 2 fractions don't work. So maybe I'll keep the 3/8. And maybe I'll get rid of this 1/8 and let me try a different one. So I've used the 3/8. I know that the 1/8 won't work in the second box, so let me try the 1/2. Let me try 1/2. And so I now notice that my denominators are different. And that means I need to get them into a common denominator. However, I know what 1/2 is in eighths because I know my equivalent fractions. I know that 1/2 is the same as 4/8. I learned that in 3rd and 4th grade, so I should be able to make that connection. So when I want to add 3/8 and 1/2, I can think of it really as 3/8 plus 4/8. Because again, 1/2 is equal to 4/8. So when I put those 2 together, that gives me, well, 3 and 4 is 7. That'll give me 7/8. So now those 2 boxes together give me 7/8. So now I have to think 7/8 minus something gives me 6/8. Well, that shouldn't be too bad. I mean, I have 7/8. I need to get to 6/8. To me, I only need to take away 1. And guess what? I have a 1/8 there. So to me, 1/8 must go here, which means the 1/8 must go in this box. So now I can just go back and double check that this makes sense. So 3/8 plus 1/2, I know 1/2 is 4/8. 3/8 and 4/8 gives me 7/8. 7/8 minus 1/8 is going to be 6/8, which is what I need. So I can be confident that my answer is correct and that all 3 of these are correct. Now, there is another way I could have done this, but this is the example I'm going to use. So I encourage you for these 3 examples you're going to try, you may have to guess and check. You may have to move some of these fractions around to determine which ones work in what order. You're also going to have to think about converting the denominators. So mainly I would work with eighths because halves and fourths have easy equivalent fraction with eighths. I've already given you one. A half is 4/8. You might need to think of what 1/4 is in eighths. So I hope that's helpful. I'm interested to see what you guys put for these three equations. Again, if you need help, please make sure you're joining office hours today, Tuesday at 1:45 until 2:45. Come in at any time during that time frame and we can work on it together. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your submissions.